Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at the main lines of the bishop b4 check Catalan, which started after d4, and then after we get into the Catalan, uh, black plays bishop b4. So in the last video I covered black side lines, which are obviously less common, but they're still important if you do face them. But in this video I'm gonna cover the main lines with 9b6. Everything else before this and the alternatives on this move with a5 and knight h5 were covered in the last video. So I'm gonna go into the details of this mainline theory here. But just to give you a recap, the point of uh, black's bishop b4 check is to uh, make us play bishop d2 and block it, but and then once he goes back, he's arguing that the bishop on d2 here is misplaced, as it blocks the queen's view of d4, and it stops our knight. More importantly, it stops our knight from going to d2, and yeah, so I'm gonna deal with the theory after uh, b6 here, and yeah, obviously it's very solid for black, but I think white gets uh, practical advantage in all the lines. B6 is the main option, and so after the main option of b6, uh, we play knight d2, and this is not the main move here, it's like the third most played move. Rook d1 is the most played move, I think. Yeah, so, the reason, we play knight d2 is to play e4 next, and, um, black's only way to, like, try to, uh, like, make use of our knight on d2 is to play knight h5. Now we're on the next move, because now our bishop can't go back to c1. So if he plays bishop b7 first and lets us play e4 uh, before getting knight h5, then we can move back, and here uh, um, so black plays bishop b7 before playing knight h5, we get e4, and then after knight h5, bishop h3, and the knight going back. E5 is, I think, an option here, but knight g4 and then the bishop has issues. So that's why h4, um, I think it's just a normal move. And now, like after some knight g4, there's no g5 ideas for black. So after d takes, knight takes c5, takes for d1. Like these moves are just a sample line because I think black is almost equal here, but I feel like white still has like I'm not gonna try like explain the moves. These are just natural moves, because none of the moves are forced for either side. But we can easily end up in a position where, um, and we often get like this probably is a normal continuation, uh, where once black plays c5, we take, and then we get like a position where black is definitely e5. He's equal, but the only person I think who has chances to play in this, especially if we get the queen straight, is white because we have the queen side majority. So in any game, that's going to be an asset where the game may be dry, but it's still not like done yet, and white can still play on. So that's knight h5 after bishop b7 e4. If takes, okay, white gets a here takes knight f6 queen c2. rook d1, takes. Here, black opened up his bad bishop on b7, but he's still not too active, and um, takes queen a7, queen f3, takes. So here in this endgame, uh, white is definitely better, a little better, because he has the active king, and his pieces are more active. So I think white can still play for uh, an edge or an advantage here. So um, here after knight after knight h5 and bishop e3 and then knight f6 h4 black can play dc4, but after e5 um, knight g5 takes queen c7 take c5 dc knight d6 knight b4 queen d2 bishop g2 king g2 a5 rook d1. Like black is probably equal, but white has a much, I think, an easier position to play. These like the strong knight on d6. This is also like a line which transposes to the regular closed Catalan. But like these moves aren't the only moves, of course, for either side. These are just an example of what can happen. So that's with bishop b7. But of course, black doesn't have to play that. He can also play bishop a6. And after e4, if we trade everything, and then white can put a knight on e5, and after like here, this line is probably uh, almost equalizing, but white still has an edge in the final position because after takes, knight e5, knight takes, d takes. Black tries to trade the queens, and that's fine. After takes, rook d8, bishop b3, making sure no rook comes to d4. c5, bishop b4, rook d7. The computer, of course, says this endgame is equal, but I mean, white's the only one who can play for anything because he has more space on the king side and he can advance there. And I feel his position is uh, more coordinated than black's position. He has better pieces, so it's a like one-sided game here. So that's why instead of bishop b7 or bishop a6, most of the time the grandmaster games end up with knight h5, or the master games end up in knight h5. So here, I think, like I said earlier, I think the e3 move, where we let black take on f4 and then capture e4, is interesting here. If he takes immediately, we can take and then get like okay, either just moves like common moves here, but we can move the bishop and reroute it to d3, and here, okay, of course, the computer says everything is equal, but white is the only one with real plans because black's queenside counterplay isn't leading anywhere in these sorts of structures because white covered c2, and black is never getting in on c1 or c3, so he has no real plans. On the queen side, he can try to advance these pawns, but it won't do much compared to like if white can play like support knight d4 or knight e5 eventually and go for some kingside attack, which is much more potent than whatever black's trying to do on the queen side. So after e3, bishop b7, here after takes, E takes, it's probably best for black here, so he can play c5 next, and after h4, c5. Rook d1, rook c8, dc5, knight f4, ef4, bc5. I mean, knight c5 is, there's just knight e5. I mean, white here. Uh, I think this is the worst option for black then, just taking with the pawn, because now he has that isolated pawn. Um, well, here he gets these hanging pawns. But I think he's fine here, because if we're not careful, they can also become. This pawn is also a pass pawn, but with there's still enough pieces on the board that I think white can try to make use of uh, black's weak structure and put some pressure. Here, um, after takes knight e5, I think white is regaining the piece. Uh, like takes, 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 or if takes here, not king takes, rook d7, yeah, first, and then white is regaining the piece and has a better position, so that's why black probably shouldn't take here, and let white get the knight d5, where it's objectively equal, but white has an easier position, I think. So that was the bishop b4 check line. Yeah, black is of course equalizing in the main line, like in his best lines, but uh, white always gets an easier position to play, and I think that's the best you can expect from when black plays such a solid system. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this video. Um, if you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing. See you.